Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show, it's about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Trickster. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Obviously, Jarrett's still spinning, and not just him, everyone is still spinning from the revelations from last episode, obviously finding out he's a trickster, and obviously the people that are after him are beings, are ancients and everything, so it's like, trying to figure out his life, like, when am I? It's all confusing. He obviously wants his dad's help because it's like, well, he's the only one that can understand what I'm going through. Even his dad being, even Wade being like, hey, I can help him through this. I'm the only one that can prepare Wade for this. Also, Wade's like, I'm the only one who can prepare Jarrett for this and to keep those creatures away from him because it's like, hey, they're going to be off licking their wounds because you did a bit of damage to him, which I think is interesting. I think it's showcasing that it's probably going to be hard to kill them, but it's not impossible to kill them. Like, being ancients, they're just these supernatural beings that probably, like, they have some form of almost like, immortality to a certain extent. It might be a thing of, like, they can live forever, but maybe they can't. They're not invulnerable. It's probably kind of what the whole thing is. I don't know, it's going to be interesting. Like, you would think, like, them being ancients and stuff, they're these powerful beings, but it's like, no, I guess it's no different from any, like, supernatural creature. It's like, once again, it's like, they're kind of like, I guess like almost like a vampire, almost in a certain extent, because vampires aren't invulnerable. They are to a certain extent, but we don't know how the ancient situation works because obviously they wear skin, but it's like, it seems like, it's not like it is just human skin they're wearing. So I guess even they are just like almost like a regular organism. They might be a different being, but maybe they kind of work similar to humans. Like, hey, we take enough damage, we die just like humans. Maybe they are a little sturdier than humans, but we don't know. But Wade was trying to make a point like, yeah, they're gone, but hey, they're not going to be going forever. Let me take Wade to Vancouver and I can prepare him. Now, obviously, Maggie's like, you're not going anywhere with my kid, which Jarrett's kind of tired of everything because it's like, I just want to get away from all this. It's just been one crazy thing after another. So his grandma drops him off at school. And they actually kind of have a heart-to-heart because she's like, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you or your mom. It's like, but why were you going? For her, it's like after everything that was taken from her, she was like, yeah, I was forced to go to that school, the priests, the nuns, once again, they kind of stripped of her culture and who she was. And it's like she was mad at them, she was mad at her parents for letting it happen, she was just mad at everybody, and obviously it led to drinking, which quelled that fire to a certain extent, and eventually that wasn't enough. And we know obviously the complicated relationship she has with Maggie. It's the cycle kind of continue. Like what happened to her, she had her issues that ended up kind of her lashing out at Maggie, which obviously led to Maggie having the issues that she does. So, but for her, it's like she had to get away. She tried to get away from herself. It's like no matter where you run, obviously you're always going to be there with yourself. So for her, giving up alcohol was like the second hardest thing she's ever done next to, giving up, leaving Jarrett and Maggie behind. But she's like, at the end of the day, it was good because she came out better and stronger from it. And so it's like, she's happy to be here now for them, so, I think for Jarrett, too, it's an opportunity to know his grandma, too, kind of understand. Because I think, for him, he's worried about who he is now. And she's like, no matter what happens, you are still yourself. That can be, it's better or for worse, but it's still like you are you at your core. No matter finding out what you are still Jarrett, So especially in a moment where he's losing his own self-identity, for her to kind of tell him, like, which I think the irony behind that being a trickster being able to impersonate other people and a trickster themselves losing their sense of identity, I think, the irony isn't lost in that situation, So, tries to go back to school to pretend like everything is normal. He tries to talk to his friend like, oh yeah, making a joke about it, but his friend's like, no. It's like, you didn't tell anyone, dude. He's like, who would I tell? Because it's like, who would believe me if I told them the truth? And it's like, but it's like, no matter what, I'm still me. And he was like, are you? It's sad because, and I think this actually kind of plays into that vision he had last episode. It's not a 1-for-1, but remember last episode, there was a whole situation of him at that party and he saw like his buddy and Sarah kind of looking at him, kind of scowling and then kind of whispering to themselves. So I'm like, it seems like that's almost come because like these are people who are important to him that kind of end up inadvertently turning their back on him. We'll get to Sarah soon enough, but it's like, he's in class, he's freaking out because I think it's just like he's stressing out. I think his it's just all of it's too much, and it's literal. I don't know whether it's just like the whole memory of it is basically making his skin crawl, making it feel like his skin is on fire because his body kind of remembers the sensation while he's thinking about it, and it's kind of putting him in overdrive because he was sweating up a storm. I don't know whether it's just like a mental thing of like, because he's thinking about it, it's making him anxious and scared and freaked out, or whether it was a literal like physical reaction just because his body's remembering, and it's just like I said, maybe it's like burning his body up because his skin can still feel it, the shifts of becoming a trickster still burning within him. At the same time, there's the whole blow by blow between Maggie and Wade, because Wade's still been like, hey, that's my son, he's gonna have to kill me, I want to prepare him for what's to come. But Maggie's like, no, I don't believe you, and proceeds to kick the shit out. But I mean, what was messed up is Wade didn't hold any punches back, throwing her over the couch, like slamming her into the table. But luckily she won the end of that, locked him in the box in the back of the truck, and was planning on taking him to the Ancients, because obviously the whole conversation of they need Trickster blood to get back home. And that's been the biggest question I've asked, and we still haven't gotten an answer to. I was like, if that's the case, then, why not just let them go? But I guess it's the thing of like, if they need, well, for one, whoever's blood they get is going to die. Sure. I mean, I guess it's a thing of like, a Trickster's maybe supposed to sacrifice himself to let them in, but it's like, because it's like Georgina had said like last episode, like it is this kind of like relationship of like they were all kind of family at one point, witches, tricksters, and ancients. But it's like, so it seems like a whole ritual is about bringing them into this world. But it's like, why not just let them? I guess maybe my thought process, and it seemed like they were saying this, but maybe they weren't, is that if he opens the doorway, it's not just the ancients that go through, he does as well. I mean, they say you need blood, but I don't know if they specify that you need the whole kit and caboodle, like the whole, like you need every drop of Trickster blood, or the amount of blood you need will inadvertently end up killing him because you need almost all of it. I don't know if that's what it's kind of insinuating or not, but that's why I'm like, what? Why not do it before now? Like, why, maybe it's all part of a process, like, because part of me is like, why come to this world in the first place if you're not going to be able to just easily go home? But I guess it's like, it's never been an issue of not being able to go home. Like, maybe Wade's the first trickster that doesn't fulfill his duty of like maybe like them being able to come and go, it's supposed to be his duties as a trickster, and it's just kind of like, he's basically loving and living life, so it's like, he doesn't want to kind of go back to those duties. It's like I said, it might be a thing that ends with death. Maybe that's kind of what that's I don't know. Like, why he's running away from that, we still don't know. But I love that, like, Maggie does scare the crap out of him, because she's like, I might not be able to kill you, but she's like, I can make it hurt, so tell me where the ancients are. So it's like, okay, she's threatening him by literally shooting holes into the thing he's being held in. And so as she's driving, like, the police show up, and I was like, oh God. I was like, right, probably should have taken his phone, because you were on the phone with him earlier. It didn't cross my mind to think, oh yeah, he would call 911, wouldn't he? I was like, I hope for Maggie's sake he shifted into something, which luckily he did. Side note, I kept watching, I was like, where do I recognize that cop from? I was like, I know you from somewhere, I just can't place it. And then I was like, I was like, trying to remember, I couldn't place it, and now I remember where it's from. Orphan Black. He was one of the cops connected to everything in Orphan Black. I was like, right, because Orphan Black's a Canadian show too, so I knew it had to be something, I think most likely Canadian related, that I saw him in. But yeah, so that was like pretty. I was like, oh yeah, the Orphan Black. I was like, oh, you were a scummy dude in Orphan Black. Did a lot of his character did a lot of terrible shit in Orphan Black. But regardless. It did seem like he was kind of flirting with Maggie, and I guess, like, he was like, oh, he's been off fishing or whatever, but luckily he opened it up and it just ended up being Wade, and I think even, like, as he flew away, she was like, you cagey SOB or something like that, so that didn't work out. At the same time, Sophia got taken by one of the ancients. Not really necessarily taken, but he brought her. And I guess for her, it's like, well, these are ancients. Like, they didn't seem that threatening. So I guess she's kind of willing to go along with it, because it's like, well, as long as you're not after Wade and you're just here for me, I'm fine and dandy. But it's like, because he doesn't have a tongue either, because, hey, his tongue was rotten after all these years, or he cut it out. Like, it looked like it was just pure rot, because it looked dead in his mouth. So I don't know if he cut it out or someone cut it out, but it just seemed like maybe it just naturally rotted over time. Because we know, like I said, at least with Georgina, we've known she's looked like this for a long time. Wade was actually like a teenager, probably about Jared's age, when he first crossed paths with Georgina. Granted, we don't know for sure that's their first time meeting, but at least it seemed like that was when she was summoned and put in the skin that she's currently wearing. because that was what I was wondering, whether the extra skins were for other ancients, or was it just because like they knew their skin was falling apart. It's like, eventually we're gonna have to wear these other skins, but let's kind of wear these out till we don't have it. Maybe because it's the thing of, we've been wearing these so long, we kind of actually grown attached to these human skins, so we're kind of afraid to let them go, but we have some spares on standby. But I also feel like maybe they were meant for other ancients as well. We don't know. But Sophia is meant to sew. You have Maggie showing up, gun locked and loaded, but, you know, her mom tells her to stop, and it's like, yeah, you need Trickster blood, and she's like, yes, but the only thing that can kill a Trickster is another Trickster, which is like, right, so that's why Jarrett's the only one that can kill Wade, and hence the whole ritual, but I was like, but that means Wade can kill Jarrett. So now that feels in the blink of what I was bringing up before. I was like, then if this whole thing is about like your son killing you to pass it on, then I'm like, then why the hell were you taking Jarrett as a baby? So that makes me go back, like, 'cause once again, he's a trickster. They made a point that like he tells half truths and lies. So it's like, so he probably lied to Jarrett when he was like, oh yeah, like the chances of a child being a trickster are slim. Like it's either, because it's like, why would you try to take Jarrett as a baby? Not unless it's like, I get the feeling like he probably knows, like the moment Jarrett was born, he was probably like, you're a trickster. Like he probably felt it with all his children. So, but it's like, why wait till now? Why wait till he's 17? Why not come back sooner? Maybe it's a thing of now that he's kind of been like, maybe there's like a special window of opportunity, but like maybe he was like, I don't know. Maybe he needed Jarrett to come to age. Like maybe he was just going to wait. Maybe he was going to take Jarrett and just wait till Jarrett got older and find out like, okay, you're at 17. That's when the trickster starts rising. And it's like, oh, okay. So, okay, good. You're not, you know. Once again, the biggest question I've had, he said he's had hundreds of children. Where the hell are they? Like, you know, did they grow old and die? Or, well, the way the episode plays out kind of insinuates, it straight up insinuates, if he's still alive, every one of his other children he's killed. Because it was a self-preservation thing where it's like he got too attached to life. I mean, it's like, you know, it's like, it's sad because he had to kill his father, who most likely had to kill his father, so on and so forth, but it stopped with him. He didn't complete the ritual, and so he ended up killing his son. We saw that, you know? Which is so sad considering, like, he's trying to spin all of this towards Jarrett to be like, hey, like, you know, you got to do this, son. And it's like, but like I said, I'm like, then what was the whole point of it? I guess he wanted to get close to Jarrett so he could keep an eye on Jarrett to be like, okay, to see whether or not he was a trickster. So like I said, it doesn't compute, like, why take him as a baby? Like, like I said, maybe you were just going to raise him on your own, away from his mom. That way you have a better look on him. Granted, you weren't expecting her to straight up, like, witch powers activate and not kill you, but at least take you out of commission. But it's like, I guess he's like, she's so powerful that he doesn't want to take the chance. Like, there's no telling, she might strike me again. So he tried to get close to Jarrett. I mean, why play the games that he did? Because I guess it's like, no matter what Maggie does, she can never kill him. So it's like, especially if Jarrett's in it's like, oh, Jarrett now knows me, so if anything happens to me, he's going to turn against you, because it's like, hey, you killed my dad before I really got an opportunity to know him. I guess it was all part of the plan, because it's like, or maybe it's part of the ritual where you have to get to know your kid. I don't know. I think it has to just be he had to wait to confirm that Jarrett's actually won. But I get the feeling like he knew the entire time. He just probably needed to wait for Jarrett to actually come to his powers as a trickster, to kind of fully awaken. I mean, cause I guess even though he didn't fully transform, it was still enough of the process that went along to show that he has come to his powers, even if he can't necessarily control them. So. Which is actually sad, you know, Jarrett spending all that time with Sarah, like he can't really explain everything that's going down, but for him, he wants to get out of town. It's like, well, Sarah, she kind of has that opportunity to kind of leave whenever she wants to, not necessarily whenever she wants to, but, you know, Jarrett plans on, like, you know, making more pills and selling them, but then it's like, well, what are you going to do? You have a place to stay? He's like, well, I'll stay at a hostel before I get, like, rent a place. It's like, yeah, but then you have to put down deposits, and you have to have references. It's like, yeah, you are, you know, you're an indigenous person, so it's like, they're not just going to let you, like, have a place without, you know, it's like, they don't want to rent to people like us, you know? So he's kind of like, it's stupid, you know, but, you know, I think Sarah wanted to make him feel better. They go for a swim, and it's nice. You know, she talks a little bit about, like, her aunt, who wasn't really her biological aunt, but one of her foster parents who wanted to adopt her, but ended up dying. It's like she said that she stayed there for 2 years. So I wonder, is that like the longest place she's ever stayed at, or at least probably in probably a good chunk of her life, it was the closest thing to a home she felt. But that kind of obviously fell through. And, it's because of this particular aunt that Sarah learned how to swim. And Jared talks about, like, his mom threw him, took him to a dock and just threw him over the edge. And it's like, yeah, I almost drowned, but hey, at least you learn how to swim, right? So now it is a situation of, like, Sarah's also, like, because she stayed out with Jared that night, now it's like, oh, they have the authority and they can send her back to into the foster system if they want to. Which Jared's like, that's bullshit. It's like, can't you talk to them? It's like, but Jared's like, let's go to Vancouver together. And she's like, for real? And he's like, yeah, let's run away together. Let's just get away from all of this. When the time came, it was becoming too real because she was like, hey, I have this card, this credit card until the foster family ends up finding out, and ends up reporting it. So, but as they're getting closer to leave, Jared, you see that look on his face because I think for him it's like, all that I am, I'm just going to draw more attention to you. I'm just going to complicate things, especially because I'm not telling you the truth about what I am. But when he does explain it to her, she thinks he's full of shit. She's like, you're an asshole. Because it's like, you wait till this moment, it's almost like you strung me along and now you're bailing out, you're being chicken. And rather than just saying it to my face, you're making up some excuse. But sad thing is, he's telling her the truth. He's like, his life is complicated. He doesn't know what his full situation is. Like, he knows kind of what he is, but even then he's still lost about that, I think Sarah even made a comment about that, like she's good at like getting lost or something like that, but she kind of gets on a boat, so that might be the last. Like I said, that's what it feels like. It's insinuating like that dream about like Sarah kind of scowling at him along with his buddy and them kind of whispering, because it's like, oh, so whether this is the end of their story in that regard, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But he goes back home. His dad, like, oh, we got to get this done now, son. They go, and Jared's still like, I don't want to do this. You're my dad. I just got to know you. I want to keep you around. I want to keep getting to know you. Like, it's like, yeah, this is a ritual. It's like, but he's like, that doesn't mean it's right. So, but when the time comes, obviously, like I brought up earlier, we learned about the truth about Wade. And luckily, Maggie shows up in time, shoots an arrow into Wade, but Jared stops her from doing it because it's like, your dad was literally about to kill you. But I think for him, he's like, I think he wanted to take time to like, hey, we could talk this out, figure things out. Mom, stop. And she shoots Jared with an arrow because I think she was counting on the fact is that the only thing that can kill a trickster is a trickster. So she's like, as long as I'm doing this, I don't know whether it's like just to remove Jared from out of the picture in that regard, or was it like to kill him long enough that it's like, if he's in a state where he's technically dead, Wade can't like kill him again. I think it's kind of the whole point. Maybe that's what it was. But Wade bounces. Maggie takes him to Phil, and Phil's looking in mind like, what? You shot her son? He's a trickster. Are you high? Like, what's going on? Luckily, Maggie was able to pull the arrow out, and he's like, you killed me. She's like, I did it to protect you. So it's kind of like, okay. Whether or not it's going to heal super fast, I would assume it would. Probably faster than a normal human, but, especially because Phil, like, the moment the arrow got pulled out, like, blood splattered all over him, and that's got to be like, oh, wait, you're fine, you're okay? Oh, this is okay. So... and it's also going to be the worst time for Phil to find out, wait, so you're not my kid? Wade's your dad? Wait, Wade's a trick? What? You're a trick? What? You're a witch? Probably all going to get thrown at him at one single time. But like I said, there's still just... neither side is, I feel like, telling the whole story. The ancients haven't told everything, and neither has Wade. So maybe next episode we'll kind of get some answers to that. But we see, Maggie kind of breaking down because it's like, I like, regardless of anything, I hurt my kid. Because I think at least she's taken some pride, I think, in like, she's never done anything like her mom ever did to her. And it's like, yes, these are different circumstances, but it's like, I still killed my kid. It's like, she kind of took a gamble because it's like, only a trickster can kill a trickster, but it's still like, she killed him enough for, mess up Wade's plan. But it's still like, I not only hurt my kid, I straight up killed my kid. And it's just like, I'm sure the stress of that's kind of wearing her down. But what was interesting though was while Jared was dead, he was wandering through this place. Those things that were crawling around, I'm assuming those were the ancients. But it's like, for him, it was like a desolate place. So I don't know whether that's the world that the ancients came from. Like, maybe that is why they're in this world. It's like, even though Georgina made that whole point about like how infected this world is and essentially how decaying it is. It's like, well, why come here in the first place? Like, do you guys have like a greater purpose that you play in like the balance of like nature and stuff like that? Do tricksters, witches, like do they keep some kind of natural / supernatural balance? Like, I'm curious, like what's your whole purpose? Like what's the whole deal with this? What's the deal with this? You know? I was about to do a Jerry Seinfeld impression doing that. That's why but I stopped because it would. What's the deal with tricksters? Yeah, it's shitty. It's terrible. There, I did it. Not like anyone was asking me to do it, but I felt the pressure for myself to do it. Regardless, I'm gonna shut up. The whole thing is like I'm curious like what that was about. Like, not unless that was supposed to be like another vision, like being on the cusp of death, kind of showed him like maybe what the ancients have planned or what. I don't know, because it seems like maybe the ancients aren't bad, but it also seems like maybe but it seems like hey, Wade's bad, but I mean truth be told, his circumstances is just pure self-preservation. But once again, it's like why not let them go back? Unless there's other reasons, like I said, like not unless you have to die to kind of let them fully go through. I mean, you don't, because like it seemed like the moment his dad died is when Georgina popped up. So it begs the question, like maybe it is the death of a trickster that passed, but it's like he doesn't want to die in the process. Like so, it is probably a thing of you do need all of the blood. So because he's refusing, well, no, because like there's all those children of his he's killed. So it's like maybe because it's not supposed to work the other way. By killing his kids, he's breaking the natural order of things. So maybe that's what I don't know. There's a lot I'm not fully understanding just because they haven't told us. So I'm really interested to find out. The next episode is the season finale, so I'm curious to ultimately see how this all ends up playing out. What else gets revealed? Maybe we finally get answers to a lot of the questions I have. We'll ultimately have to wait and see. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.